Hey everybody, this is the roundup for every Green Lantern thing that was either released or announced in the month of July 2021. And as usual, the month starts off with the latest issue of the current ongoing series. Green Lantern number 4 starts to confront the tragedy of the attack on Oa, as both John and Joe begin to get confirmation of which lanterns died when the central battery went out. But in the middle of all of it, a key piece of information is found that changes everything about the way most people have been thinking about this storyline. If you haven't done it already, I recommend you watch my video diving deep into issue 4. And also listen to episode 443 of the Lantern Cast, where I joined Chad and Mark to discuss the issue. And you might be wondering, why do both of those things, since they're both just me talking about Green Lantern number 4? In terms of coverage, they're very different. The video is just my own thoughts on the events of the issue, which lets me go into much more detail than I can in a group setting, while the podcast is a conversation that brings in viewpoints and opinions that I don't have. For example, Chad feels much more strongly about the deaths of certain alien Green Lanterns than I currently do, so what was a footnote in my video turned into a good discussion about the nature of this story. If you want the most well-rounded coverage of the issue, watch my video and listen to the Lantern Cast episode 443. Also, Mark and I had a really good conversation about the Black Widow movie and the future of the MCU in general, so also go listen to episode 444. Justice League Infinity number 1 picks up a few years after the final season of Justice League Unlimited, and as someone who's a big fan of this version of the DC animated universe, this issue is a wonderful experience. It does a perfect job of recapturing the heart and soul of this version of the characters, and frankly, they've never looked better. So even if you only care about checking in on the status of the John Stewart, Hawkgirl, Vixen love triangle, you really can't go wrong with this book. It's only 7 issues, so maybe wait for the trade, but if you can't wait, there's still enough packed in here to make the individual issue worth it. Also, I guess I have to mention that Jon Stewart made a cameo in the new Space Jam movie. It was only for a couple seconds, and it was his season 1 character design for some reason, but hey, he was there, and that's alright. Speaking of Green Lanterns in animation, DC Superhero Girls is back with another episode centering on Jessica Cruz, this time following her and Hal Jordan as they go to Oa and explore why Jessica doesn't use her ring as aggressively as the other members of the Corps. Injustice is being adapted into an animated movie, and this time around Hal Jordan will be voiced by Brian T. Delaney. There's not much more to say about it at this point, other than that there's a lot of potential in this project. The Injustice storyline is pretty good, and every time they spin it off into something else, whether it's a sequel game like Injustice 2, or the long-running tie-in comic franchise, it almost always results in something even better than the original, so my hopes are high for this one. Justice League Last Ride number 3 keeps turning up the tension as Kilowog and Jessica try to hold the United Planets at bay while John, Hal, and the rest of the League lock down Lobo until he can go on trial. Only a lot of people don't want him to take the stand, because then it could come out that council members of the United Planets have hired Lobo to assassinate people before. So now an armada of ships are heading straight for the League, and it still isn't as big a threat as their own personal resentments boiling over. If you still haven't read this book, you should really do yourself a favor and change that. Infinite Frontier is still moving along with issues 2 and 3, as Alan Scott and Obsidian try to discover what happened to Jade, while Roy Harper struggles with the Black Lantern ring that found its way onto his finger. And a quick scheduling note here, my coverage of the Infinite Frontier miniseries will continue. I'm just waiting for more issues to pile up, since most of the big moments in this story so far consist of characters just showing up without any context. There's a good deal of Lantern stuff going on, I just want to be able to talk about it in more detail because that'll be a more satisfying conversation and a more substantial video. Action Comics 2021 Annual gave us the return of the cast of Future State House of L, including Blue Lantern Rowan Kent. This is one of the books I was looking forward to the most, since I really enjoyed everything about that Future State one-shot and couldn't wait to dig deeper into these characters, especially Rowan. Unfortunately, I think this group is too big to keep cramming into one-shots, as the Blue Lantern content of this issue is almost non-existent. These characters have only appeared twice, and both times it was as a group, which doesn't leave a whole lot of time for individual characterization when they only appear in one-shots where everything has to be packed into a single issue each time. Overall, the annual wasn't bad, and I'd still recommend reading it if you like this generation of characters. Just don't go into it specifically for the Blue Lantern, because she's really only got one dedicated panel in the entire issue. And we'll round out the comic talk with some solicitations for upcoming issues. Green Lantern number 7 comes out October 5th, DC vs. Vampires number 1 on October 26th, just in time for Halloween, and The Human Target number 1, coming on November 2nd, telling a story that appears to be a period piece set in the 1980s, and will feature members of the Justice League International, including Guy Gardner and Nort. This project in particular looks really cool, and the creative team of Tom King and Greg Smallwood has me genuinely excited to see what this modern throwback has to offer when it comes to the JLI, especially two of the most offbeat Green Lanterns. Lastly, we've got 2 more Green Lantern Funko Pops on the horizon, starting with White Lantern Sinestro, recreating the first moments after becoming a White Lantern during Blackest Night. This is going to be a shared exclusive, meaning it'll be at San Diego Comic-Con as well as some yet-to-be-disclosed retailer. It's probably Hot Topic. Then there's the DC Imperial Palace Green Lantern, part of a whole line of DC characters wearing ancient Chinese armor. This one's due out by the end of 2021, and you can pre-order it right now. So that's the Green Lantern Roundup for June 2021. If you have something to say about any of these topics, or if there's anything you think I missed, let's keep the conversation going in the comments section down below. You can usually find me reacting to these developments in real time on Twitter, and I'll be back doing another one of these videos a month from now, so subscribe and hit the bell to make sure you're notified when that video drops. Until then, thank you for taking the time to watch. My name is Dan, we'll talk again soon.